The Companions is a guild that I hold near and dear to myself. When I was a wee lad, probably too young to be participating in M-rated video games, the Companions was the first guild in Skyrim that I had joined and subsequently completed in its entirety. Since then, I have at least started it a handful of times just so I could become a werewolf. At this point, however, I haven't actually sat down and really sunk my teeth into the guild since I was in middle school, which has been about 6 years now. I found myself wanting to replay the questline recently, and seeing as how I do this YouTube thing now, I thought why not share my opinions with you guys from a perspective blinded by nostalgia. My journey in the Companions started by me kind of just barging into Jorvaskr. Lucky me though, because there seems to be a fight that broke out between two of the other members right before I walked in. When I was younger, I thought this was a really cool spectacle, but 13 years later, not so much. I chose to ignore the scuffle and head straight to Kodlak to ask if I could pretty please join the Companions. He uses his infinitely wise eyes to stare deep within my soul and surmises that I would be a good fit for the Companions. At least a good candidate. Vilkas over here wants no part of me, however, because he doesn't know who I am. At the point in time that I recorded this gameplay, I was already the established Dragonborn and had destroyed the entirety of the Dark Brotherhood. Guards and some civilians would even recognize me for such things. I understand that the Companions is set up as an early game faction, but I would have loved to see different dialogue from these characters based on the things you have already accomplished up until joining the Companions. It seems really silly that these people have no idea that I'm literally the reincarnation, the second coming of Christ. I mean, isn't the Companions a faction of true Nord warriors? Wouldn't they be at least interested in the Dragonborn's coming? Honestly, Vilkas kind of just reminds me of the Morrowind community with how gatekeepy he is with the Companions. Kodlak tells him to shove it, however, and that Vilkas should take me out back like Ol Yeller so that I can test my arm. Not to brag or anything, but I'm pretty good with one-handed, if you know what I mean. Reluctantly, Vilkas accepts and he meets me outside in the parking lot of Jorvaskr to test my arm. Sadly for Vilkas, however, I demolish over half his health with one swing. And even after being slapped around like one of those Russian slap boxers, he still has the audacity to make me deliver his sword to Yorlin. He even adds the comment that the sword is probably worth more than my life, which I checked, and my sword alone is worth over 5 times his, so no, you're just wrong. Like a good lackey, I take the sword to Yorlin, and Yorlin gives me some speech on how I shouldn't do whatever the others tell me to. Then he immediately gives me a shield to take to another member of the Companions. Right, okay. I take the aforementioned shield to Ayla? Ayla? How the fuck do you say that? As I was walking to deliver this piece, I actually paid attention to what Skjor and her were discussing. It's actually some pretty good foreshadowing for what's to come. It also sheds some light on the inner social conflicts of the guild. After delivering the shield, I end up with my own bed within the barracks. Well, I guess not my very own bed. These beds seem to be communal so that any one person can use them. Before I can test out my new communal slumber sack though, Farkas, the brother of Vilkas, tells me he has a contract for me. Something to do with bandits near Whiterun. I'll do the contract soon enough. First I want to go talk to the other members of the Companions because Farkas mentioned that they were interested in meeting me, which they are not. Most seem displeased that I was even considered to be amongst their ranks. From a role-playing perspective, this is just stupid. Like I mentioned earlier, my character in this save has some pretty impressive accomplishments under his belt, and my gear is obviously much more impressive than what these other so-called whelps are wearing. Which, by the way, I think a whelp is supposed to be the lowest rank within the Companions, but there are seemingly only like 3 total ranks within the whole guild. There's whelp, circle, and harbinger. I finally embark on my journey to go deal with the bandit camp, just outside of Whiterun. They aren't really a problem. I end up lobbing the head off the bandit chief in quite a spectacular manner. Funnily enough, however, when I go to loot the chest in the main room, I find Merida's beacon. Sorry, but this quest is being saved for another video. I don't care how cool Dawnbreaker is, that quest is just fucking annoying. Returning to Farkas, I turn in my contract, and he says something rather immersion-breaking.
Of you, and once again, you have not disappointed.
What? Okay, so the first part of that sentence may work. I'm literally the Dragonborn, but insinuating that I never disappoint? This was my first contract I have ever done with you goobers. Pushing that to the side, however, I inquire about a new contract, and for affinity be damned, I'm told that Skjor has been looking for me. I go and speak with Skjor, and he informs me that a scholar of some unknown origin tipped him off of the location of another piece of Wuthrad, which is Ysgramor's axe of choice. And Ysgramor was the founder of the Companions over 5,000 years ago or something. I am to go and retrieve this fragment as my trial. If I am successful, I will be counted among the Companions officially. So what is a whelp exactly? Anyway, Farkas is to accompany me on this journey as my shield brother to make sure I don't get myself killed. So I did one Radiant quest, and now I'm supposed to go and retrieve the fragment of one of the most prized artifacts for the faction? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense from a logistical standpoint at all. It's been established that I am not that impressive, at least not in the eyes of the members of the Companions, and this is literally the weapon used by the founder of your little family. So you think it's a good idea to send one established member and a so-called whelp to retrieve this fragment as my test? Has it not even been considered that this could be an ambush? It is, and there should probably be more muscle for this mission? I grab Farkas and head to Dustman's Cairn, where we find someone else has indeed already been here recently. Go figure. For the first half of the dungeon, it's your average Skyrim stuff, loads of Draugr, until we reach the midpoint of the dungeon, where I have no choice but to get myself trapped. Farkas tells me that he can get me out, but before he can, I'm introduced to the Silver Hand, the counter effort to the Companions, I think. One of the members of the Silver Hand mentions that anyone with that armor must die. Now I know they're probably referring to the Companion's armor, but Farkas doesn't wear that armor. He is in basic ass steel armor. I'm aware that this was probably just a mistake on the developer's side, but come on Bethesda, you've had like 13 years of re-releases to correct this minor problem, and it's still here. Oh, and also I learned that Farkas is a furry. Rawr. Delving deeper into the inner sanctum of the crypt, we find more Draugr and Silver Hands scattered throughout, until we arrive into the main chamber where the fragment of Wuthrad is held. I grab the fragment of Wuthrad and, oh no, it's an undead dance party. Okay, it's more of like an undead slow dance party because these guys are only busting out of their crypts like 2 to 3 at a time. Returning to Jorrvaskr, I'm greeted by some of the higher-ups congregating in a semicircle, ready for my ceremony to adopt me into the Companions. I do think it's odd that they were setting up for my ceremony even before I finished the quest, but you know what? At least they believed in me. Other than Kodlak, apparently. He tells me to go to Yorland to replace my ebony scimitar with sky-forged steel. As a newly indoctrinated member of the Companions, I go and pick up my first, say it with me kids, Radiant quest! For this one I have to go settle a dispute in Dawnstar. Sweet. Except it's not sweet, because this is the most annoying brawl I've ever had in the history of Skyrim. These troglodyte spectators find it amusing to weave in and out of this fistfight and get pissed off when they catch a stray hand, which ends the fight immediately and gives me a bounty. Something I noticed about hand-to-hand during this fight, however, is that your right hand swings a lot faster than your left hand. Another reason to hate hand-to-hand in Skyrim, I guess. I eventually beat the poor man into submission and head back to Jorrvaskr so that I might turn in my completed contract. And again, after only one Radiant quest, Skjor wishes to talk to me. So I speak with Skjor and he stares into my soul with his blind eye and tells me to meet him at the Underforge, which is really kinky.
This is no test, new blood. This is a gift. Come inside.
Once inside the Underforge, I finally get the opportunity to become a werewolf. And when I say get the opportunity to become a werewolf, I really mean that I'm forced to become a werewolf because if I don't, I can't continue the quest. But unpopular opinion here, I really like the beast form transformation, like a lot more even than the Vampire Lord. Please don't check my search history, you might find my Fur Affinity account. First transforming into a werewolf sends you into a bloodlusting rampage on Whiterun where I dance around Belethor in order not to kill him. And I think I'm going to say my first good thing about the Companions, I really like this section. I may have gotten into the second highest rank available in the faction in just 3 quests, but the idea that I'm positioned in Whiterun, seemingly meant to terrorize the town uncontrollably, kind of plants the seed that this isn't a blessing, but a curse. Well, it's a curse for all of about 30 seconds until my screen blacks out and I wake up outside in the cold snow with Ayla. She tells me that my celebration is going to be an attack on the Silver Hand, and that Skewer charged off ahead of me. This can't go wrong. He's dead. Skewer is just dead. I would be saddened by this, but I have no emotional attachment to him whatsoever. He's talked to me twice, and one of the times he tried to have sex with me under the Underforge. I take his armor though, because I think it looks cool. So cool, in fact, that I traded out with my statistically better Curation Club armor with really powerful enchantments to wear this instead. Ayla says we have work to do, and that the Silver Hand will tremble at our sight. Before that, I would like to take a quick stop just to talk about the companions up until this point. This is the halfway point, so I think that's okay. First off, what the fuck? I just joined the faction that's supposed to be a gang of honorable warriors that uphold the teachings of Yskamor. In what universe does beating up a random man in Dawnstar for seemingly no reason other than I'm being paid to do so classify me as an honorable warrior? I mean, seriously, up until this point in the story, I've done 2 Radiant quests, which are just objectively worse than quests that are tailor-made to fit the theme of the faction. Furthermore, I have spent an equal amount of time being a paid mercenary as I have been dealing with the personal affairs of the guild. And by equal, I mean 4 quests. I've done 4 quests up until this point. That is just sad. This honestly wouldn't have bothered me as much if there was more content to offer up until this point. But in 3 quests, I went from a whelp to one of the highest ranking members in the companions. And what do I have to show for that? Well, I can turn into a werewolf whether or not I wanted to. The game forces the player to become a werewolf just to even progress in the Companions campaign, which is a super immersion breaking thing for someone that may have wanted to be an honorable Nord warrior. Also, being a member of the Circle doesn't earn you any more respect amongst the other lower ranking members of the Companions. The last thing I want to touch on is the initial werewolf transformation. The game positions you in a spot where you can go on a no-consequence tirade over Whiterun, slaughtering innocent civilians and guard. How is that allowed for a group of honorable warriors? It's so silly to me that this group of people parade themselves around as a band of noble knights, when in reality they're basically just a gang of thugs for hire. Alright, now that the midpoint evaluation is out of the way, we can continue with the rest of the quests. There's not really that much left. I think I only have like 2 pages of script left here to read. Cool fact, after the death of Skewer, you gain access to purchase wolf armor at the Skyforge. It's worse than the armor I was wearing, but I think it looks a lot cooler, and honestly, I just wanted to roleplay as a wolf boy. I replaced everything except the gauntlets I was wearing, because they give a nice buff to one-handed. After the death of Skewer, Ayla puts me up to the task of trying to systematically dismantle the Silver Hand single-handedly. Why would she think that's a good idea? Didn't they just get done murdering one of the strongest members of the Circle? I mean, I know I'm a member of the Circle now, but I am the newest member, and just 2 days ago, I was a whelp. Like, am I really ready to go take down the Silver Hand by myself after such a big loss to the faction? Now, in all reality, this doesn't really matter because after a quick werewolf transformation, I'm able to take down the camp pretty easily. And after I clear out the first encampment of the Silver Hand that she sends me to go deal with, I'm immediately sent to go take down another fort's worth of the super evil bad guys that is the Silver Hand. My only question is, just who are the Silver Hand? I know that they have some ties to the Companions, but how deep does that go? They seem to also be interested in collecting the pieces of Wuthrad, so are they some type of offshoot of the Companions, originating from the introduction of lycanthropy to the group? Speculating on who the Silver Hand actually is pretty cool. I mean, I get to make my own headcanons on who they are, but it doesn't really give me motivation to take them down when I don't even know what they stand for. All that I know is that they are seemingly bad guys that want to kill werewolves. But at the end of the day, is a pack of werewolf hunters actually that bad? I mean, if you met someone that could turn into a werewolf and they went on random rampages killing people, wouldn't you also want to kill the werewolves? Logistically speaking, on paper, the Silver Hand aren't bad guys. I mean, it's literally canon, even within Skyrim, that they lose control and kill things like children. Anyhow, after clearing out just 2 Silver Hand hideouts, Godlike wishes to speak with me, and he raises a really good point whilst doing so. I shouldn't be killing these people. The real essence of this conversation, however, pertains to the curse of lycanthropy itself. Kodlak wants me to retrieve some witch's heads so that I might cure him of said curse. He tells me that while bearing the beast blood of Hircine that he'll never be able to enter Sovngarde, and as a true Nord, he deeply laments this fact. I oblige, but when I return with the heads, Kodlak is dead and the fragments of Wuthrad stolen. By whom, you may ask? Well, the Silver Hand. Yeah, I really don't know why Ayla thought it would be a good idea to go and slaughter a bunch of members of their gang pretty much unprovoked. Like, up until Skjor's death, they really hadn't done much to us. Even in the situation with Skjor, he went into their domain wanting to kill them. He charged in to fight them. They had nothing to do with that interaction. They were quite literally just protecting themselves. In America, that's called self-defense, baby. In a streak of genius thought, Vilkas decides it would be a good idea to take the fight back to the hands that hold silver in an attempt to completely wipe them out for good, and retrieve the lost fragments of Wuthred that they stole from us in the process. So, me and Vilkas traveled to Driftshade to get the job done. I did this whole section as a werewolf because I thought it was thematically appropriate, but I couldn't help but notice the whole time that Vilkas didn't transform with me. I know that this isn't a feature that's presented to us in the game at all, but I almost feel like it should be. Wouldn't it be cool if two werewolf bros were just avenging their clan leader as the very beast that led to his demise? When I and Vilkas return, Kodlak is being burned at the Underforge for his burial. This would be a lot more somber if I had any connection with this guy. This is a very prevalent problem without this whole guild, I'm starting to realize. Every moment that's supposed to be deep and emotion-evoking is not that, because I don't know these people. I just joined 3 days ago. I mean, literally, at this point, I'm just here to be a werewolf. After the service ends, Yorlin approaches me and asks if I have the fragments of Wuthrad. I tell him, hell yeah, but watch out, there may be some silver hand blood on them. After handing them over, he informs me that Kodlak has a secret piece hidden away somewhere in his sleeping chamber. Yorlin asks if I would kindly go and retrieve it. While I'm down there, I read through Kodlak's journal, and he talks about appointing me to be the Harbinger after he dies. I literally just joined the faction, and now I'm already in talks to be the leader of it? I give the last remaining fragment to Yorlin, and he tells me that the other members of the circle are waiting for me in the Underforge. When I arrive, they are yapping about Kodlak's inability to enter Sovngarde due to his beast affliction. Vilkas, however, brings up the point that we can still cure him from the afterlife. But the only way that would be possible is with Wuthrad, and that thing has been shattered for quite some time now, about 500 years, I believe. And just like that, and probably the most hard entrance in Skyrim ever, Yorlin presents us with the completed Wuthrad.
Dragons were just stories, and elves once ruled Skyrim. Just because something is, doesn't mean it must be. The blade is a weapon, a tool. Tools are meant to be broken and repaired.
Is that... Did you repair the blade?
This is the first time I've had all the pieces, thanks to our shield brother here. The flames of Hero can reforge the shattered. The flames of Kodlak shall fuel the rebirth of Wuthrad, and now it will take you to meet him once more. As the one who bore the fragments, I think you should be the one to carry Wuthrad into battle. The rest of you, prepare to journey to the tomb of Is Skyrim for Kodlak.
With Wuthrad in hand, I venture to the tomb of Ysgramor, where Vilkas immediately chickens out and says he can't go into the tomb. So much for honorable warriors. Lol. Farkas and Vilkas must really be brothers too, because Farkas decides he is scared of spiders now, and that limits him from going any further into the tomb as well. So at this point, it's just me and Ayla fighting off ghosts and spiders as the climax. Eventually making it to the inner sanctum, I get to talk to Kodlak one more time before I end up freeing him of his lycanthropy. Also, he officially names me as Harbinger. Little side tangent, this isn't actually in the script. But why is there a magical fire within the tomb of Ysgramor that cures lycanthropy from the afterlife? Isn't that, like, narratively very convenient? Like, the curse of lycanthropy on the companions is a relatively new thing. Why is this altar just sitting here waiting for people to be cured of lycanthropy? Also, the fight with the beast spirit of Kodlak is very underwhelming. So that's it. That's a lot shorter than I remember it being. Like, I finished the whole quest line at about 2 hours. Nothing really changes back in your Vasker after we finish it. The whelps still disregard my authority, and now all that's left to do for companions questing is radiant quests for pitiful amounts of gold in increments of 150 to 300. One cool thing I will mention though is if you wait long enough, both Farkas and Vilkas will eventually ask you if you can cure them as well. On paper, this quest sequence is really bad narratively, but it serves its purpose of being an early game faction to supply gold and experience to level up pretty soon. Also, it gives you the ability to turn into a werewolf, and personally, that's enough for me. I'll give it an 8 out of 10, but if you remove the whole werewolf transformation, it drops off dramatically to probably like a 3 out of 10. Alright, thank you for making it to the end of the video. I'm very appreciative for the watch time. It really does help out the channel. So if you made it this far without liking the video, if you consider liking the video, that would be phenomenal, and subscribe if you're not subscribed for some reason. Why wouldn't you want to subscribe to the guy with the Bass Pro hat? On the topic of the Bass Pro hat, I just released some merch in the style of the Bass Pro logo. On there you can find a trucker hat, which is about $20. I think it's the coolest thing on the store. But there are some cheaper alternatives, like there's a pack of buttons for about $8, and you can get a sticker for as low as $2 with the logo on it. Really, anything helps as I'm moving towards making bigger projects such as this one, and move to make even bigger projects. And if you really want to help me out, becoming a channel member would be phenomenal. Becoming a channel member grants you access to watch videos like this one early, and it gives you the access to a plethora of other members-only content. You also get shouted out here at the end of these videos if you're a channel member. Channel memberships range anywhere from 99 cents to $24.99, so there really is a tier for everyone. Thank you for all the support recently. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.